off the music. Hello, hi, morning, everyone. All right, so if you have just tuned in, right, once again, it is the Money CEO Start of Week podcast. All right, for everyone. So the intention of this podcast is to bring money knowledge nearer to you. All right, so that you can make informed choices, and then hopefully with all these tips, ideas, and resources, right, you can then grow your wealth. All right, and that is really the intention for our Money CEO. All right, so coincidentally, the two of us are in black today. All right, this morning. All right, black T-shirt. All right, so and our topic today, right, is interesting because it is something that is hot in the market. All right, I think probably you may have read this article, but if you have not read this article, right, it is definitely something that all of us may have forgotten. Okay, that is, what is an emergency fund?
Yep, that's a big question, and but it's not exactly too difficult. Emergency fund is something that we need in an emergency. Then the question is what is an emergency, right?
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So maybe I ask you, right? I mean, to a layman, I don't know. Emergency, is it insurance? Is it my bank saving account? Is it this fund that I have? And how much is it? How much is enough? Maybe you want to bring us through.
Yeah, I think in this case, it's good to help you or help us each understand what is your level of emergency. If emergency means dropping a phone and your phone not working and you need actually extra pocket money to buy that phone, that could be your emergency fund. And at the same time, if you actually extend it a little bit bigger, it's about not having a job for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and if that actually happened to affect your cash flow, then that could be an emergency. All right. So and of course, if you bring it a little bit bigger, then what if you're involved in an accident, all right, or a car accident, or even a roadside accident, okay, and you need treatment, or even if you're sick and you need to be hospitalized, those kind of condition or actually occasions could be an emergency for all of us. So then again, as we actually take one step further, one step up, and determine these kind of situations, so we can determine how much of a buffer, how much of a savings we need. Yeah, of course there are actually big enough situations. Let's say huge medical costs. It takes about maybe a few 100,000. Okay, can you actually save up for it? If you cannot, then obviously there is a need for a third party to come in, which is in this case insurance.
Yeah, and then sometimes, right, I think yes, and then sometimes my customer or my friend asks me, James, how much emergency fund is enough? I think how much is emergency fund is enough, right, really depends a lot on you. Right, today, if I'm 21, 22, right, if touch wood, something happened to me, I lose my job. Okay, I can probably find my job within the next 1 to 2 months. So if you don't want to have such a high amount of emergency fund, I think it kind of makes sense. Okay, but then if let's say you are at my age, 40 years old, today, if you were to lose a job, right, I really don't know whether I can find a job within 3 months or not. If you can't, right, then you better set aside a higher amount of emergency fund. And of course, for business owner who is listening to our podcast, right, if you are a business owner, you should probably have 10 months or even more amount of money, as an emergency fund. And I think the entrepreneur will understand what I mean. Exactly what Gears has mentioned. Emergency fund is really touch wood, something happened to you, you need this money, you have it. Okay, you have it. One biggest example is lose of job. Or I relate it to last year. Last year when COVID happened, right, people either lose job, lose business, not enough business, right? So when they don't have enough business, right, then where are you going to take your money from? Singapore has the reserve, okay, but so do you have your own reserve? If you don't have, that means you don't have emergency fund.
Yes, yeah. Let's face the fact, okay, you have to ask yourself or ask ourselves also, do we have that backup plan? Okay, so, well, I mean, now that we've talked about it, if you have it, and then good. If you don't have, you need to actually set up. And then for us, what we want to also share with you is that, so if you're asking what is the exact amount, okay, we're looking at, okay, generally is 6 to 12 months. 6 months generally if you are a maybe employed salaried worker, all right. If you are doing your own business, then 12 months is actually quite reasonable. Okay, and of course, if you're a young working adult, just came out, Well, I mean, a
3
few
months,
will-
yeah, 3 months.
So technically,
minimum,
that 6 months or 12 months is actually the time taken for you to get back into normal routine. If there is an emergency. Yeah. So next thing is that okay. So now let's try to set up some criteria or set up some ground rules in terms of like if you have an emergency fund, James. Okay. So when or like how should we use it?
Yeah. I think it makes a lot of sense. Like even when Singapore use the reserve, right, you don't just use it any now and then. Out of so many years of nation building, last year was the only year we used. This year we use it twice. So out of our history, of Singapore, we use it 2 times. So I think we definitely need to set down some ground rule, especially for our own emergency fund. All right.
Yep.
So I think the first one, as first one is exactly like it must be absolutely necessary. Okay. If it's not necessary, then don't use it. What do you mean by necessary?
I think if we can sum up, it's more of like needs versus wants.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So if I want to buy a new pair of Adidas shoe or a Gucci shoe, is that?
Yeah. If really James, if you don't have shoes, then I say you can buy lah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Whether it's a Gucci or it's a Bata or anything, right? So you decide. Okay, you decide. Yeah.
So obviously that is not something that is absolutely required, right? So of course we're not talking about buying the desired thing that you want. I think one of it is really example medical. When you are faced with a big medical emergency, you need money for medical treatment, house maintenance. You need suddenly the aircon went down. These are really tap into your emergency fund. What if you have pets? Today you walk in the park, you see a lot of people who have pets, right? Can you imagine you don't have emergency fund just to take care of your pets, your loved ones? Okay, medical
expensive, yes.
cost. Yeah. How about if you drive? Correct, car maintenance. I think it must be something that's necessary. For you to really tap into this emergency fund, right? And I think the other thing,
So moving on, also one of the things that you need to take note is that how should you use it is that if does it cost you more money if you don't pay? All right, that means like if you're in a debt, all right, and that debt is due, you need to do a repayment, and you've got no cash flow, you need to actually dig into your savings, your emergency fund. If you don't pay, interest will roll. That is also something that you need to consider that is necessary to activate your emergency fund.
I've spoken to a few of my friends, just happened to be talking to them over the weekend, and some of them have told me that after saving for many years, eventually they clear off their debts. Okay, and trust us, because we've been in this industry, been in this line, there are a lot of young people, a lot of people my age or even my age older, they are really in debt. They are really, really in debt. Okay, so they are struggling not just to build their emergency fund. They don't even have. They cannot even struggle to pay off their debts. I think if you are in debt, right, just really work hard to clear it off first. Once you have cleared off, really start building your emergency fund, or you can build both at the same time. But it is about how you balance building the emergency fund versus managing your debts.
And of course, tied into that is that if you don't pay off your debts, will it also affect your credit score? Okay, or rather your credit bureau rating. Okay, and this is actually going to be disastrous. If you actually have a bad credit rating, because it will affect your new loans taken up, even your credit card application. Okay, so bear that in mind. Okay, if you miss out on a certain debt repayment structure, okay, and all this will affect you, and because of this one, you use your emergency fund to pay it off.
Correct. So really do take note. It must be some. So if it affects your credit rating, all of us has a credit rating. A, double A, triple A, and all this. If it does affect you, because that's going to affect you, especially when you want to get into growing assets like property. You want to do some minor leverage just to grow your wealth. This is going to affect you. If this is going to affect you, then pay off your debts first. Once the debt is settled, build on your emergency funds.
And lastly, guys, one thing we need to know that we come back to the first question of if you want to buy a Gucci shoes or actually another pair of shoes, and then should you actually decide to dip into emergency fund? I think first of all, if it's unplanned, okay, if it's actually just spur of the moment, you see something nice and you want to buy it, think twice. Think twice, and if it's something that you need to actually use additional savings, then I would say that you have to think whether it's something that you can afford.
Yeah, and then lastly, right? Just now we mentioned about emergency fund. Gaius also mentioned 6 months to 12 months. Maybe let me ask Gaius this question: 6 months of 12 months of what? 6 months of what? 6 months of my salary, my income, salary minus CPF, or what exactly are we talking about this 6 months?
Okay, very, very good question.
Yeah.
Okay, minimum will be 6 months of your expenses.
Expenses.
Your monthly, day-to-day, expenses that requires you to actually function daily lah.
Basic necessity lah. Not like I go drinking every month, $500. That's not included, right?
Not included. But that also includes like your bills, your handphone bills, your utilities, your whatever subscriptions, and if actually, I have a friend, who took a break, 1 year break. Okay, he has to go for exercise, to keep himself up, upkeep because of health reasons.
Yeah.
Okay? So he factored that into his own so-called expenses funding buffer, and that is actually like the gym membership, for example. So basically, you need to know what is your minimum threshold, minimum expenses, and you buffer it minimum 6 months at least.
Yeah, correct. I think someone texted lah, so that means you need multiple stream of income. Yes, if you need multiple stream of income, you want to know how to grow multiple stream of income, look for us, okay? Look for any of the Money CEO consultant, and we are happy to share with you how we do it. All right, so let me just put it down into numbers, and then so that we can talk about it. So let's say someone earns and take home $3,000 every single month.
Yep.
All right, if the basic necessity, let's say is 1,500, so it will be 1,500 multiplied by 6 months.
Yep.
By 6 months.
Right.
All right, which is about $9,000 in
Yes.
this case. Yeah. So today, if you are in that situation, you look at your basic necessity, you don't even have that, or worse, some of them don't even know how much expenses they spend. Yeah. Then again, you need to check out our Money CEO again. All right, so we're going to teach you how to then budget, how to keep track of your expenses. All right, so and thanks everyone. If you have any comment about how you should, is there a better rule to how you should manage your emergency fund? Write down on the comment below. If you have idea on how to generate multiple source of income, for yourself, so that you can build your emergency fund faster. All right, do comment below as well. All right, so if not, once again, I'm James, and this is
Gaius.
Brother Gaius. All right, so thank you very much for joining us in our weekly start of week. So again, join us next Tuesday, 10:30 a.m. If you have friends, do invite them to come on. And if you miss it, it is fine, because we are on Spotify, we are on podcast, we are on our website as well. So do join us on our weekly start of week, so that we bring the latest resources, tips, news, money news to you, so that you can help you grow your wealth. All right.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Take care. Bye.